Hello, Mirana Kerner, your product coach speaking. Hope everyone is doing fantastic today. The topic I wanted to talk about today is nothing but a very important topic: product managers / product owners' roles and responsibilities. This is really a topic that is close to the heart of all the participants whenever I deliver classroom training. So I found it was useful to deep dive a little bit about it. So I'm not going to go into the details of the roles and responsibilities itself. There are already some very good, extremely good literature about it. On product ownership, I would like to recommend you to watch the video of Henrik Kniberg, Product Ownership in a Nutshell. Product Ownership in a Nutshell. He's explaining super well in 12 minutes, if I'm not wrong. No need to redo the whole 12 minutes. Watch the video. He's really explaining Pat, the product owner, how she managed the relationship with the stakeholders, how she managed the relationship with the developers, how she prioritizes the backlog, the queue, manages the risk and learning, and what are the different metrics. So, to know more about product ownership in a nutshell, it's a YouTube video by Henrik Kniberg. There are also a lot of good documentation about product management and product managers' roles and responsibilities. I recommend particularly the one from Roman Pichler. Roman Pichler is a very well-known author and coach and trainer in product management. So look at his product management framework, Roman Pichler, product management framework, but he's describing all the areas where a product manager needs to act on. It's about the vision, it's about how you manage, how you know the market, how do you dominate your market, your segment. It's about how you manage your backlog, it's about how you manage your release, how you manage your delivery. Then it's about how you manage also the product marketing. So he's explaining the whole framework. I think it's quite good. I don't want to re-explain it because it's already very well explained. However, what I wanted to share here today, and I think that's where the value is really of this video, is more of what are the frequently asked questions by the people when it comes to a product manager or product owners' roles and responsibilities. So I would like to go quickly through some of the questions, at least that I know my team, my participants always ask about the role. So the first question is, let me have a look. Who writes the user story? Should the user story be written by the product owner, by the BA, by the dev team? So here's my answer. Anyone can write user story. If you really look at the definition of the user story, it's a placeholder for a conversation between the product team. So it's not a replacement of a requirement, because first and foremost, a user story is not a requirement. A user story is not required, is not mandatory. It's a conversation starter. So who wants to start the conversation? Doesn't always need to be the product owner, doesn't always need to be the BA. Anyone can start the conversation. So who writes the user story? So it's a collaborative effort between the product owner, the designer, the developers, and if you have a BA, by the BA. Usually the product owner captures the story because he's the one going to the market, talking to the stakeholders, and he's the one ahead of everyone else normally. So that's why he's initiating the capture of the user story. But then the detailing, the refinement of user story as per the level of detail required by the team, it's a whole team's work. right? So it's not only the responsibility of the product owner. However, the product owner is accountable for making sure that the user story is ready before it goes into a sprint, and the user story is done, and the team is making sure that the user story is done at the end of the sprint, and the product owner is accepting or rejecting the story at the end of the sprint, right? That's the first question around user story. The other question is, should the product owner do the discovery, or should it be done by a UX researcher or someone from UX, right? So this depends on organization, because in some big enterprises like bank, insurance, there are a lot of silos, and a lot of people are involved throughout the whole organization. What I would like to say is, as a product owner, you need to make sure that you build the right product, right? Now, if you can't go directly to the ground, but because you don't have time, and because sometimes you don't have enough expertise to go and do the deep research, because research, that's why there are some experts in research, because they know how to ask the right question, they have the different techniques on what's the right technique to use for this different type of situation. You don't necessarily need to act as an expert. The product owner is not necessarily expert in discovery, in doing research. He can require help from a researcher whenever he doesn't have enough the background of it. That says he's remain accountable for making sure that the research happened, that the experiment happened, that the discovery happens, and then he also making sure that the outcome and the output of the discovery is being used as an input to the next discovery, right? So as much as possible, be involved so that you are ahead, and you know really what's your customer's problem, and you hear it from the first hand. But for some reason, when you don't have enough expertise, you can just come and be an observer and also learn, because product ownership, product management is also a learning journey. Okay. Some other questions that I used to have: who is doing the testing? Should the product owner test? The answer is yes, yes, yes. Unfortunately, not product owners are not happy when I say yes, you have to test. So here's the thing. I am not really a big fan of this organization where you have separate team doing the QA and someone else doing the testing of your product. Because why? Because then the product owner is not, and the team are not taking the responsibility, the ownership of their product. They just have this mindset of, I build it and someone else will test it. Whereas, an empowered product team is supposed to build a good quality product, a good output, a good quality product at the end of whatever they deliver, and it should be also a good outcome. So good output, good outcome. So that's why I would like the product team to be empowered and to be accountable for the quality of what they deliver. So who needs to test? Should the product owner test? So for me, there are multiple levels of testing. First, the developers should test. Right after they run their code, they should test the minimum, at least see the acceptance criteria it should pass. Then the UX designer, they should test as well, because they are in charge of the usability of the application. The product owner should test also. He is testing it because he's supposed to know the market, he knows the user, then he should test also. So after a few rounds of tests, normally you should have identified, at least the most common errors that we should have. And it's also an opportunity for you to adjust your product, right? Then, in my opinion, in some organization, there is what we call UAT, user acceptance test, where you have some representative of the end user who do a round of tests as well, because they are really the users of your system. They really know all the nominal cases, the edge cases, so they should be doing some round of tests as well. And the non-regression test should be as much as possible automated by the team, right? That's why I don't recommend this outsourcing of the testing to a QA or to someone else.